Have you ever felt that quiet, nagging sense that you're just um, too much? And at the same time, maybe not what you should be. Like, no
Hmm.
matter what you do, you're kind of constantly failing to measure up.
Oh, absolutely. It's a really common feeling, often just under the surface.
Yeah, it's this universal, often unspoken thing. And today, well, we're taking a deep dive to try and uncover the truth about a woman's heart.
That's right. And for this deep dive, our main source is the book Captivating, Unveiling the Mystery of a Woman's Soul by John and Stasi Eldredge.
Okay.
And it's not really just a guide. It's more of an exploration into what they see as the fundamental essence of femininity, what it really means to be a woman.
Right.
And they view it through the lens of our deepest, most inherent desires.
Inherent desires. Okay. And I guess our mission today really is to try and cut through all the noise.
Hmm.
The societal pressures, maybe even some well-intentioned religious messages, things that often leave women feeling just tired, guilty, maybe unseen, unsought, and really unsurfaced.
Exhausted, yeah.
Exactly. So this deep dive, it aims to explore what these sources suggest is like truly at the core of a woman's being.
Right.
Moving beyond those prescriptive formulas to reveal what they call an inherent, priceless feminine heart. So this isn't about what you should do necessarily. It's
Yeah.
much more about discovering who you already are. So yeah, let's unpack this.
Okay. So I think it's important to start by really understanding the problem with so many of the current narratives aimed at women.
Right, the context.
Yeah. The authors, the Eldridges, they describe a lot of these books as soul-killing, which is strong language.
Wow, yeah.
Because instead of offering genuine understanding, they just give you formulas, checklists.
Hmm.
And Stasi Eldredge even talks about this moment of frustration, literally throwing a book across the room because it just left her feeling like, she wasn't the woman you ought to be.
Oh, I can imagine that. That feeling of being handed a checklist instead of real insight. It really resonates, doesn't it? Why do you think those kinds of, formulaic approaches are so common, even when they seem to leave women feeling more inadequate?
Well, I think the authors would argue it's because they fundamentally misunderstand the human heart,
Yeah.
especially the female heart.
Okay.
They try to prescribe all these external behaviors without actually addressing the internal reality, the
Yeah.
desires. And it's not just certain books either.
Right.
Even the feminist movement, while offering important freedoms, sometimes maybe inadvertently, added to the confusion.
How so?
Well, the book points out that messages like "you can be anything" can feel almost too vast, like no real direction.
Yeah. Overwhelming.
Or the idea you could do anything a man can do. Well, as Stasi Eldredge puts it quite plainly, I didn't want to be a man. For many women, that's just not the goal.
Right. That doesn't quite answer the question of who I am.
Exactly. And this kind of thing extends to some traditional messages from the church, too.
Mm.
The book highlights this sort of pervasive message to women. You are here to serve,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The nursery, the kitchen.
the kiddies, right.
Yeah.
And the models of femininity that get presented often result in women who are described as, let me see, sweet, helpful, coiffed, busy, disciplined, composed, and tired.
Oh, tired is the key word there, I think.
Tired indeed.
Right here.
And the source introduces this concept. It calls it the infamous icon, the Proverbs 31 woman,
Oh, yes.
and frames her as a source of sanctified shame.
Sanctified shame. Wow, that's powerful. What does that mean exactly?
Well, it implies a kind of shame that's not just felt personally, but feels almost blessed or justified by a spiritual context.
Right, like you should feel bad for not measuring up.
Exactly, which makes it incredibly hard to shake off.
Absolutely. It's like biblical proof that we're failing. And this ties right back into that feeling we started with, that pervasive, I am not enough and I am too much at the same time.
Yeah.
Not pretty enough, thin enough, kind enough, gracious, disciplined, whatever is not enough.
Mm-hmm.
But also maybe too emotional, too needy, too sensitive, or too strong, too opinionated, too messy. It's a real double bind.
It really is. And that feeling of shame, of being not enough or too much, it just, it hits right at the core, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Because, as the authors argue, all these external messages, whether they come from culture or the church or wherever, they tend to miss the most fundamental thing,
Which is?
the actual heart of a woman.
Okay. So it all comes back to the heart.
The critical insight here, as the book really illuminates, is that this feeling isn't some personal failing. It's presented as a direct symptom of narratives that fundamentally misunderstand, maybe even distort, a woman's true nature.
Right.
Which brings us, to the centrality of the heart itself.
Hmm.
The authors point to Proverbs 4.23. You know the one.
Above all else, guard your heart.
For it is the wellspring of life.
Yeah.
Exactly. And when the book says God created women in his image, specifically as female, and that her feminine heart reflects God's own heart, well, they argue that's not just like poetic language.
Okay. What does it imply then?
It suggests specific attributes, things like maybe relational depth, the nurturing instinct, or a capacity for profound beauty are actually direct echoes of divine qualities. So it grounds these desires in something much larger than just personal preference or what society expects. And the journey to discover this inherent feminine nature, they say it begins with desire.
Desire. Okay. When I first read about these 3 desires in the book, it really did shift my perspective. The authors propose that every woman, deep down in her heart of hearts, longs for 3 core things. And what's really profound about them isn't just what they are, but the idea that they're inherent, you know?
Not learned.
Exactly. Like a foundational blueprint for a woman's soul. So they are to be romanced, to play an irreplaceable role in a great adventure, and to unveil beauty.
Okay, let's delve into that first one. To be romanced.
Yeah.
Think back to childhood games, maybe playing kidnapped and rescued.
Oh, totally. Or wanting to be the princess.
Right. The desire to be the heroine, the one fought for and rescued by a hero, like Sleeping Beauty or Cinderella. The book actually acknowledges how embarrassed women sometimes feel about admitting this desire.
Yeah, it feels almost anti-feminist sometimes, maybe.
It can feel that way, despite it being so common.
It is a fascinating contradiction, isn't it? Like, we're often encouraged, be strong, be independent, yet this deep desire persists. The authors use movie examples really well here, things that just resonate so widely, like the captain declaring his love to Maria in The Sound of Music.
Classic.
Or Edward's dramatic return to Eleanor in Sense and Sensibility. And Friedrich's devotion to Joe in Little Women.
Yes. Even like Titanic or Braveheart, William Wallace pursuing Murrin with flowers and notes.
Right. These stories just tap into that deep, deep longing to be seen and wanted and pursued.
Yeah, pursued. And Stasi Eldredge shares a really powerful personal story in the book about John romancing her with letters and a carved heart necklace, poetry. And she describes how he saw me and knew me and pursued me. It affirms that deep longing. So this desire, it starts in childhood, but it matures, right? Into a longing to be pursued and desired and wanted as a woman.
And the book links unmet desire here to other issues.
It does. The source explicitly states that many addictions can flare up when this core desire feels, well, unmet or ignored. The profound longing really at its core is to be seen, wanted, and pursued.
Okay. So if that first whisper of woman's heart is this longing to be romanced, that pull towards connection, what's the next deep chord it strikes? You said something about adventure?
Yes. The authors suggest it's a longing for something, well, maybe grander in a different way, to play an irreplaceable role in a great adventure.
Irreplaceable.
Stasi Eldredge talks about her childhood dream. She wanted to disguise her gender so she could join the guys in WWIA movies.
No way.
Yeah. She longed to be part of something heroic, valiant, and worthy, something large and good, something that required all of me, something dangerous and worth dying for.
Wow. That's a really powerful longing. It's definitely far beyond just being sweet or helpful.
Indeed. The book highlights this fierce quality in a woman. It describes her as a warrior, too, but in a uniquely feminine way.
A feminine warrior. I like that.
And this is illustrated so well with that story from the Tetons. Remember the canoe trip?
Vaguely. Remind me.
Okay, so Stasi, John, their sons, they're canoeing on the Snake River in the dark. It's challenging already. Then they encounter a bull moose blocking their only way out.
Whoa, okay.
And they have to face this really hard paddle back upstream against the current in the dark. And in that moment, that shared challenge, Stasi felt truly needed and irreplaceable. She says she transformed into Sacagawea, Indian princess of the West, a valiant and strong woman.
Wow, that image, Sacagawea, Indian princess of the West. It really does redefine strength, doesn't it? It's not just about, like, brute force.
Not at all.
It's a deeper, almost elemental need to be vital, to matter in the story. So what do the authors suggest is the risk, then, for women who don't find outlets for that Sacagawea spirit, that fierce, irreplaceable role?
Well, they imply that suppressing this longing can lead to a real feeling of unfulfillment, maybe even resentment, because it's presented as an inherent part of who a woman is meant to be.
Right.
The book explains that women often love adventures, Could be horses, whitewater rafting, travel, even things like having children or starting businesses.
Things that require something of you.
Exactly. It's not just for adventure's sake, but, and this is key, for what it requires of us for others.
Ah, so it's relational.
Yes. What's really key here, the book emphasizes, is the desire for a shared adventure. Because, as it says, we are relational to the core.
That makes so much sense. It's not just about solitary heroics. It's about being crucial within a community, within a story that involves others.
Precisely.
And we see women playing these kinds of irreplaceable roles all through stories in history, don't we? Like Sarah from Sarah, plain and tall, bringing courage out west, or the nurses in Pearl Harbor saving lives amidst total chaos.
Yeah, great examples. And you can think of powerful figures from myth or scripture too, like Arwen, Galadriel, Eowyn from Lord of the Rings.
Oh yeah, definitely not just sweet.
Not at all. Or think of Esther, Mary, Ruth from the Bible. These women are described as passionate and powerful women who were beautiful as warriors.
Beautiful as warriors. I love that description. It captures both the strength and something else.
Exactly. It suggests there's a kind of wildness and strength in the feminine heart that maybe often gets overlooked or tamed. Which brings us quite nicely to the third core desire, to unveil beauty.
Okay, beauty.
The book starts this with the intuitive desire you see in little girls, this desire to delight and be delighted in.
Oh, yes.
Think of like a 6-year-old girl singing her made-up songs, just fully expecting you to be delighted by her.
Totally. Or playing dress-up, twirling in skirts, and asking, am I lovely?
Yes.
Yes.
That question, am I lovely?
It's so vulnerable. And this longing, it's captured really well in that Bethany Dillon song, Beautiful, isn't it? With lyrics like, I just want to be worthy of love and beautiful.
Exactly. And the book recounts this experience of adult women at a black tie ball at the Broadmoor Hotel.
Okay.
Where the women apparently delighted in each other's beauty and enjoying our own, taking that risk of revealing their beauty or maybe having it unveiled.
That word again, unveiled. It's not just showing off, is it? It feels deeper. Like a revelation.
It truly is presented that way. Think about the importance placed on a wedding dress, that feeling many women describe of being a princess on their wedding day.
Yeah.
The authors share another little story about Emma dreaming of being a queen, wearing a beautiful dress and crown, and just loving the feeling of beauty.
And it doesn't fade with age, does it?
Not according to the book. It's described as an ageless longing. They mention Lily, an 80-year-old woman who just lit up and did a delightful little twirl when someone called her lovely.
That's sweet. And yet, let's be real, this desire for beauty, it also carries so much pain for women, doesn't it? The book mentions untold grief and countless tears.
It does. It acknowledges that pain.
And how many women have maybe hardened our hearts to this desire because of that pain or societal pressures about looks?
Absolutely. It's a really fraught area.
And, you know, these desires, romance, adventure, beauty, some might hear this and think, well, that sounds pretty traditional, maybe even a bit dated. In our modern world, how does the book address that idea or the feeling some might have that women shouldn't want these things anymore?
That's a really great question. And it's actually central to their whole argument. They make a very crucial clarification.
Okay.
That this desire for beauty is not just about outward appearance, not just physical looks.
Right.
It's a desire to be captivating in the depths of who you are. It's about an internal radiance, an inner beauty.
Okay, so give me some examples of that.
Well, think of Cinderella. Yes, she becomes beautiful externally, but her goodness shines through first. Or Maria in The Sound of Music. Remember, the Countess is conventionally beautiful, but Maria has this depth of spirit. Her soul is alive, and that's what captivates.
Ah, I see. It's her essence.
Exactly. Or biblical figures like Ruth. It was her courage, her vulnerability, her faith that drew Boaz in. Or Esther, her bravery, her cunning, her good heart moved the king. This is presented as a beauty that is worth pursuing, worth fighting for. A beauty that's core to who we truly are inside.
That makes a huge difference. It reframes it completely. And what's really fascinating then is how the book suggests these core feminine desires intertwine with the core desires of a man's heart, which were laid out in the companion book, Wild at Heart.
That's right. Briefly, those were presented as a battle to fight, an adventure to live, and a beauty to rescue.
Okay.
And the authors proposed that a woman's desires were actually meant to fit beautifully together with a man's desires, like puzzle pieces.
So a kind of synergy.
Exactly. Yeah. The framework they lay out suggests this powerful synergy. They posit that a good man helps a woman's feminine heart to flourish. His pursuit, his affirmation, it draws out her beauty.
Okay.
And conversely, from their perspective, A real woman inspires a man to play the man.
Yeah.
She draws out his strength, inspires him to want to be a hero.
Hmm. So it's meant to be this kind of synergistic dance
Yeah,
where each heart helps draw out the best in the other.
that's the idea presented, yeah.
Yeah.
A complementary dynamic.
Ultimately, then, the book frames this whole deep journey through a spiritual lens, doesn't it? Suggesting that these longings, the ones God has written deep in your heart, are actually telling you something really essential about what it means to be a woman and the life He meant for you to live. According to this perspective, anyway.
Yes, that's the core message.
Hmm.
And it's really important to stress, this isn't about meeting some new set of standards or following new rules.
Right, not another checklist.
No,
Hmm.
the authors frame this exploration as an invitation to a great adventure, a journey of the heart. It's about recognizing that you don't need to, resort to fantasy or maybe addiction or just numbing out to cope with the ache of unmet desires.
So the true quest, as the authors argue it, is really to discover who you already are as a woman.
Exactly.
It means recognizing that those very impulses you might push down, your desire for romance, for a meaningful role in life's big story, and for expressing your unique inner radiance, they aren't flaws. They're presented as fundamental parts of your being, just waiting to be, well, unveiled.
It's about rediscovering the glorious, powerful, and captivating woman the authors believe God intended you to be. It's an ongoing journey, really, of uncovering what's already there, maybe buried beneath all that noise we talked about earlier.
Yeah, rediscovering, not reinventing.
Precisely. So maybe the question for you listening right now is, what stands out to you about these inherent desires? What might this mean for how you see yourself and maybe the life you're living right now? Something to think about.